Hey there. I wanted to do something a little different for this video and talk about a creative exercise that I like to do. Recently, I visited the Metropolitan Museum of Art here in New York and took a bunch of photos of 3D art pieces to use later as photo reference to draw some quick studies. These are similar to old master copies, and while I absolutely recommend the practice of painting master copies, this exercise is a little different in that the result is looser and more casual, and that you're drawing in your own style instead of making a direct copy, for reasons I'll explain in this video. Again, I think creating old master copies is an extremely valuable practice for artists, but this exercise in particular is a little bit different. I wanted to talk about how this activity helps my brain stay in shape creatively, and how exercises like this might be able to help you too. I would also like to say that this activity is probably most suited to intermediate artists and illustrators, since it focuses on developing your own style. So if you're an absolute beginner, I would suggest developing your technical ability by doing old master copies and life drawings first, and not so much worrying about your personal style until you're comfortable with the basics. As usual, I've listed all the software, hardware, and brushes I use down below in the description, so check it out if you're curious. So, I find drawing photo studies of ancient and classical 3D art extremely useful for a couple of reasons. The first is that it allows you to practice translating an already existing form into your style and allows you to develop your visual vocabulary. For example, before I drew this Mesopotamian bull's head lyre decoration, I had never drawn a Mesopotamian bull and I did not know how that would look in my style. But now that I have drawn one, if I were to draw one in the future, I now have mental reference for how I would do it. I now know what a Mesopotamian bull drawn in my style looks like. By drawing from this reference, I've developed the visual vocabulary to convey this specific object. And by practicing drawing from reference, you are constantly adding to your personal library of things that you have translated into your style. This applies to anything, not just classical art. Bulls, lions, beetles, boats, flowers. I recommend trying to draw from reference everything that you could possibly be interested in artistically. Do master copies and photo studies of subjects that speak to you and your work personally, and when you're doing this exercise, pick pieces that you love looking at and that you find inspiring. Second, I find that this exercise helps me learn how to convey certain moods and feelings, and how exactly to achieve those things on a technical level. The art already exists, you don't need to think about what to draw. Like I mentioned earlier, because an artist way more skilled than me already made this object, I don't have to think about the content of the piece, I only have to think about how exactly to convey the mood that I want, so I can pin down how to do that for future work. I want each of these sketches to have a different vibe and feeling, and instead of getting overwhelmed with decisions related to content, I can think about how I want the piece to feel and how to achieve that. I'm free to mess around with color, brush size and shape, halftones and textures, without having to think much about the subject of the image. For these pieces in particular, I wanted to experiment with setting the mood using different types of backgrounds, but I recommend focusing on any one thing that you've been wanting to improve in your work. While I'm doing these studies, I try not to obsess over making them perfect. Each one of these sketches took 45 minutes to an hour tops. Keeping them quick helps me figure out how my hand draws naturally when I'm not overthinking. Try not to get frustrated if these sketches don't turn out exactly how you want them at first, and don't treat them too preciously. As you develop your style and learn from your mistakes, they will get much better over time. And the last reason I recommend this exercise is that going to the art museum is really fun and a great way to get out of the house. We all experience creative fatigue, especially hunched over a desk all day, and being in a pleasant and relaxing environment like a museum and walking around looking at masterful artwork in person can give you fresh eyes and a renewed enjoyment of your craft. All in all, I highly recommend trying this if you have access to an art museum. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy the rest of the speed paint, and if you do, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful for you, and if it inspires you to go out and do your own museum drawings, please link them in the comments because I'd love to see them. Until next time.